The gala at the Grand Marquis Hotel glittered with the arrogance of New York's elite. But for James Harper, the night was a live wire, crackling with a secret that could burn it all down. After 3 decades as a cybersecurity consultant at Apex Innovations, James stood at the edge of retirement, his heart thumping not with nostalgia, but with the cold certainty of a man who'd spent 5 years sharpening a blade of justice. The chandeliers cast a golden glow over the crowd, their laughter a hollow soundtrack to his calculated calm. Retirement wasn't his finish, it was a detonation waiting to happen. James adjusted his tie, scanning the room. His best friend, Marcus Tate, a data analyst with a grin sharp enough to cut through corporate nonsense, sidled up with a whiskey in hand. "Survived the jungle, huh, Harper? Ready to trade firewalls for fishing poles?" Marcus's quip landed like a sitcom punchline, drawing a wry smile from James. "Jungle's got nothing on what's coming, Marcus," he replied, his voice low, eyes glinting with purpose. The crowd didn't notice the storm brewing behind his measured demeanor, but James felt a conspiracy unraveling, piece by meticulous piece. 5 years ago, his world had imploded. His wife, Claire, traded their quiet Brooklyn brownstone for the penthouse flash of Victor Langston, a hedge fund mogul whose Wall Street swagger made James's dedication to securing digital networks look like pocket change. Claire, once his partner in late-night coding sessions, had been seduced by Victor's private jet lifestyle, his influencer-packed galas, and his promises of a life less ordinary. "You're too safe, James," she'd said, her parting words a knife twist. "Victor lives bigger." The betrayal stung, but what gutted him was their son, Dylan, only 13 then, swapping his comic book sketches for a TikTok obsession, dazzled by Victor's Ferraris and Rolexes. Dylan had changed. The thoughtful kid who once begged James to explain encryption algorithms now sneered at his nerdy job, flaunting Victor's gifts like trophies. "You're just jealous, Dad," Dylan had said once, his words slicing deeper than Claire's affair. James absorbed the hits, his silence mistaken for weakness, but every insult fueled a plan so precise it could have been coded in Python. At the gala, Claire, Victor, and Dylan strutted in uninvited, their smugness a neon billboard in a room of muted suits. Claire's designer gown shimmered, Victor's hand possessive on her waist, while Dylan scrolled his phone, oblivious to the colleagues eyeing him. James took the podium, his speech a masterclass in restraint. "Apex gave me purpose," he said, voice steady, thanking the company while hiding his ace. "The Nexus Shield, a quantum cybersecurity protocol that could lock down the digital world like Fort Knox." The crowd clapped, unaware that James had secured 50% ownership of its patents, a detail Apex's board had shrugged off as speculative. They didn't know he'd already demoed it to the Pentagon and 2 Silicon Valley titans, proving its game-changing power. Victor approached, his smirk dripping with condescension. "Retiring to a cabin in the woods, Harper. Very rustic." The crowd tittered, and Dylan chimed in, loud enough for all to hear. "Victor's empire's worth billions, Dad." "You're like stuck in the dial-up era." Claire raised her glass, her smile venomous. To leveling up in life, she toasted, the jab landing like a punch, in a room full of onlookers. James sipped his drink, his poker face flawless. They thought they'd won, but they just stepped into his endgame. The next morning, Apex dropped the bombshell. Nexus Shield was real, and its stock soared 300% before the market opened. James's patent stake made him a billionaire overnight. His name splashed across CNBC and Bloomberg as Wall Street scrambled. Victor, who'd shorted Apex stock based on Claire's pilfered insights, lost tens of millions in hours, his hedge fund bleeding red. James had known for years that Victor's firm was manipulating Apex's stock, using Claire to fish for trade secrets during family dinners. He'd fed them a steady diet of liastales, of a stagnant R&D department, a company on its last legs while perfecting Nexus Shield in secret. By noon, X was ablaze with financial bloggers sniffing out Victor's suspiciously timed bets. "Someone's got some explaining to do," one viral post read, racking up thousands of likes. James, sipping coffee on his modest Brooklyn balcony, forwarded a dossier of evidence emails, texts, and recorded calls to Apex's legal team and the FBI. Victor's offshore accounts, stuffed with shorting profits, were flagged by regulators, their transactions lighting up like a Christmas tree in a federal database. Marcus called, his voice a mix of awe and glee. "Victor's fund is toast, man. Investors are bailing faster than rats on a sinking ship." James chuckled, picturing Victor's polished facade cracking. "They underestimated the wrong nerd," he said, hanging up as his phone buzzed with a call from Dylan. "Dad, Victor's freaking out," Dylan said, his voice shaky. "He's booking a jet to Dubai. Says the feds are closing in." James's jaw tightened. "Stay safe, Dylan, and stay honest." He didn't tell his son that Claire had used Dylan's gaming laptop to try hacking Apex's servers, a reckless move now tying her to the conspiracy. The plot thickened at a tense boardroom meeting. Apex's CEO, Ellen Voss, a corporate shark with a Harvard MBA, accused James of leaking Nexus Shield details. "You've got some nerve, Harper," she snapped, her eyes narrowing. James leaned back, unfazed, and slid a USB drive across the table. "Check this." The room fell silent as emails loaded on the screen. Claire's attempts to pry secrets, Victor's coded instructions, all time-stamped and damning. Ellen's face paled. "You played us all," she muttered, half in admiration. James shrugged. "I just protected what's mine." That night, Victor cornered James at a rooftop bar, his Rolex glinting under the city lights. "Name your price, Harper," he hissed, offering a bribe to bury the evidence. James's smartwatch recorded every word, his smile cold. "You're not buying your way out of this, Langston." Victor's bravado faltered, his eyes darting like a cornered animal. Claire's voicemail came next, her voice cracking. "James, please. We're family. Don't do this." He forwarded it to FBI agent Rachel Cohen, whose team was already building a case. "Your evidence is a prosecutor's dream," Rachel told him, her tone almost gleeful. "They're done." Dylan's call came at midnight, his voice trembling. "Victor told me to lie to the cops, Dad. Said they'll ruin us if I don't." James's heart ached, but he stayed steady. "Truth's your shield, Dylan. Use it." His son's loyalty was torn, caught between a mother's tears and a stepfather's threats. James knew the choice would define Dylan's future. The media went wild, dubbing Nexus Shield the Fort Knox of cybersecurity. James, once a quiet consultant, was now a tech legend, his face on Forbes's cover. A late-night show host, in a biting monologue, called Victor Wall Street's worst gambler, betting against the nerd who rewrote the rules. The audience roared, and James allowed himself a rare laugh. Watching from his new penthouse, Victor's business partner, Trent Vaughn, jumped ship, leaking Claire's emails to save his own skin. "She was in deep," Trent told James over coffee, his hands shaking. "Victor's been moving assets to the Caymans for weeks." The courtroom showdown was electric. Dylan, pale but resolute, took the stand, exposing Victor's coercion and Claire's desperate pleas to lie. Claire's polished image shattered when prosecutors played a recorded call of her lying about her role. Victor's plea deal landed him 10 years. Claire faced 4, their assets frozen, their empire in ashes. James won custody of Dylan, who looked at his father with new eyes, seeing past Victor's hollow promises. James didn't stop at victory. He launched Harper Security, a consultancy mentoring young coders from underserved neighborhoods. "This is about building, not destroying," he told his team, his voice firm with purpose. Dylan, inspired, enrolled in a coding boot camp, his TikTok account now filled with Python tutorials instead of flexing wealth. At the Nexus Shield global launch, Marcus raised a glass. "To outsmarting the sharks," he said, winking at James. The room erupted, colleagues chanting James's name. James pulled Dylan aside, the Manhattan skyline glowing behind them. "Success isn't money, kid," he said, his voice thick with conviction. "It's about creating something that lasts, something true." Dylan nodded, his eyes clear, their bond forged anew. The journey had been brutal betrayal, deception, and a 5-year chess game against enemies who thought they'd won. But James had played the long game, turning pain into power, proving resilience and truth could topple even the slickest villains. Here's where the story hits its peak, and I need your help to keep it going. If this tale of grit, strategy, and redemption fired you up, hit that subscribe button to join our community of dreamers and doers. Share in the comments, what's one bold move you've made to turn the tables in your own life? Let's inspire each other to break free from the ordinary and chase what's real. The aftermath was relentless. Victor's appeal was denied, his offshore account seized, his name a punchline on X. Claire's letters from prison alternated between apologies and accusations, but James didn't reply. He was done with their games. Dylan, now living with him, asked one night, "Was it worth it, Dad? All those years playing their game?" James paused, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. Justice isn't about worth, Dylan. It's about balance. They tipped the scales. I set them right. The story didn't end with triumph alone. James faced sleepless nights, haunted by the cost of his victory years of isolation, the strain of watching Dylan drift away, but every sacrifice fueled his resolve. He'd outsmarted a system that rewarded greed, exposing its cracks with surgical precision. His consultancy grew, partnering with schools to teach kids that code could be a superpower, not a status symbol. Dylan, once lost to Victor's flash, now shadowed James at tech conferences, asking questions that echoed his father's curiosity. The final twist came months later, when a whistleblower hinted to be James leaked Victor's last desperate email to a rival firm, offering to sell Apex's old code. The FBI reopened the case, extending Victor's sentence. Claire, released early, tried to contact Dylan, but he chose his father's path, saying, "She made her choice, Dad. I'm making mine." James hugged his son, the weight of 5 years lifting. They stood on the penthouse balcony, the city theirs, a testament to patience, integrity, and the unshakable power of truth.